It all began the first week of June. The silly old sun got a crush on the moon. He spent so much time chasing her at night that his sunrise became an awful sight. And this went on some time, I'm told, until at last he became so bold he showed up late for dawn, they say, so the stars held a meeting the very next day. At last they said that what must be done was to have a talk with the silly old sun. So they trapped him one night in a starbeam cage and told him henceforth he must act his age. Well, sir, the sun, who was caught in the act of giving the moon a brand new ice pack, just stammered and stuttered and hung his head till his big round face grew rosy red. It was the next day, the sun was on time, that he decided he would really shine, so he turned on his beams full blast all day and sizzled each dewdrop he found at play. The sun was so hot that 7th of June, the heat near melted his old love the moon, and fisherman John grew vexed as he toiled, for the fish in his nets were all parboiled. At last in a rage John called to the sun, and he said, "Why, you blinkety son of a gun, if I ever catch you at the North Pole, I'll bury you sure and fill in the hole." The sun only laughed and sweltered with pride, and beamed at poor John till his fish were all fried, and John in his rage thumbed a cloud floating by and swore he'd punch the sun in the eye. Well, the sun was surprised, to say the least, when he looked down on this mad earthling beast, who was sailing his cloud through the summer sky and preparing to punch the sun in the eye. So the blood-red sun laughed long and laughed loud as he dodged the fisherman perched on the cloud, and around he raced all over the sky, but John couldn't catch him as hard as he'd try. Well, sir, the sun, who was just being cruel because he'd been caught acting up like a fool, should never have shone so bright in the sky, so he deserved a punch in the eye. But John couldn't go as fast as the sun, and it looked as if the sun might have won, except that he, in shining so hard, had made his orbit as soft as lard. And before you knew it, he slipped from the sky, and the North Pole smacked him right in the eye. Then John sailed up and dug a big hole, and quick as a flash he rolled him in whole. While John was covering the sun with ice, the stars were scurrying about like mice, and they agreed they must send someone to plead with John for the silly old sun. You see, though the sun had been very bad, to lose him would make the universe sad, for when he behaved like most of the time, they knew that he had a wonderful shine. Mars was for starting a fight right away, but old Evening Star said fights didn't pay. Then Venus, who thought John handsome indeed, said she knew how to get the sun freed. But Dipper looked wise and wagged his handle and said, "It's best to do without a scandal, so I propose that we send the North Star, and Venus can wink at John from afar." They all agreed the North Star should go, so they made him a coat of grade-A snow. They polished his icicles smooth as glass, and each wished him well as he glided past. The North Star found John still piling on ice. He paused to remark, "I say, you look nice." The North Star said, "Thank you, and you do too. But please, good John, may I talk with you?" The North Star promised good fisherman John that if he would give the sun back by dawn, they'd see that he got a boatload of fish, or even 2 boatloads if that was his wish. John, who was really a kind-hearted chap, said, as he opened the frozen ice trap, "Well, if you insist, I guess it's okay, but he must not shine so hot every day." They dug up the sun, who shivered with cold, and made him promise to do as he's told, and John, by a strange ingenious means, deprived the sun of his 6 strongest beams. Then he gave the beams to the North Pole's wife, who sliced them up with her glacier knife, and made her husband some sunbeam tights. That's what we call the Northern Lights. They all shook hands and parted good friends, which should be the way that all trouble ends. And from that time to this very day, the sun's not been late for dawn. So they say.